I have some, at least sounding on the surface, news to be good news. It might not be good news when you delve into it. Might be neutral news, who knows? But the news is that apparently lesbians earn more money.
Oh,
right.
What time to be a lesbian?
That makes sense. Harder workers. Yeah.
Well, that actually. Okay. Yeah. Well, spoilers, Corey. Thanks very much. So the other day, Corey sent me.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Corey, you sent me this TikTok. So the other day, Corey sent me a TikTok by somebody called Abby Nissenbaum, who is actually a musician. Shout out to Abby Nissenbaum for her music, but is also a doctoral student. Very cool. In the video, she talked about a meta-analysis from 2014, which basically talked about something called the lesbian wage premium. So this is written by Marika Klawitter, and it basically it's doing a meta-analysis, so like a study of studies, and it finds that lesbians, on average, earn 9% more than straight women, which sounds like a really weird thing, right? Especially given the fact that a 2022 finding by the HRC Foundation in the US found that LGBTQ plus people on average earn 10% less, with stronger swings for people of color, transgender people, and non-binary people. So where are the lesbians getting all their money?
They are stealing it.
No?
Yes, Luke, where are the lesbians getting all of their money? Please do tell.
From their labor, Corey. That's where they're getting all of their money. So this study from 2014 found that gay men earned 11% less than heterosexual men, but lesbian women earned 9% more than heterosexual women. So, top line, why do you think this might be?
Probably sexism, in that lesbians are seen as being more masculine and therefore are worth more than more feminine women. And gay men are seen as being more feminine and therefore are worth less than masculine men. These are my beliefs. Okay. This is what I think.
Oh, dear God. Oh, dear. Champ, any ideas?
Maybe it's sort of related to that, but there's more expectation for women or feminine people to do more like homely duties, and so the masculine people have more free time or something. I don't know, something ridiculous like
Interesting.
That.
Okay, we will kind of touch on that. So interestingly, you haven't mentioned what is usually the first suggestion. Corey, one of the first suggestions, like Corey said, is the sort of idea that some lesbians might be more masculine and so therefore might fit in better with a masculine sort of patriarchal workplace. That is a suggestion. Mm-hmm. But the one that a lot of people say often is that straight women or straight couples are more likely to have children. And one of the things, if you've ever looked into sort of the complexities of the wage gap, that's brought up is like, well, women take out more time for child rearing, right? And actually, weirdly, one BBC article that I read about this just flat out said this can be attributed to the income hit many women take when they have children. But actually, when I looked into it, interestingly, the BBC kind of, I think, either oversimplified or got that wrong, because it's not actually the
BBC not accurately relaying scientific information when it pertains to social issues.
Okay, I've hit on a sore point for Corey here.
No, I think not. Not our British Broadcasting Company. Jesus Christ.
So some of the studies did attempt to control for child rearing, and there's actually an awful lot of like data inside of this study about how effective or how far the studies that it studied went into trying to control for child rearing. And also, lesbian couples do have children too. And in fact, in lesbian couples, lesbian couples were found to be more likely to both be working even if they had children. So in heterosexual couples, it's more likely that one partner, usually the man, is the one going to work, and more likely that a woman either reduces her hours or quits work entirely to do some child rearing, at least for an amount of time. It was sort of the case in my family, is the case in many families, regardless of whether that's the right thing to do, right? But lesbian couples with children were more likely to both stay in work, which is an interesting thing, right? It also talks about finding evidence for earnings discrimination against gay men, i.e., people actively discriminating against gay men and paying them less. But it also said that there was very little evidence that happened against lesbians. So the quote it said was, against lesbians more than against all women who are obviously pay discriminated. So The quote says, among heterosexual American men, attitudes towards gay men are less positive than those towards lesbians. And if men are more likely than women to be the hiring person or the firing person or the promotions person, that could result in labor market discrimination against gay men, but not against lesbian women. So that was from somebody called Herrick in the year 2000. Now, obviously, they could still be still be discriminating against women in general, as I said already. So there was also greater earnings penalties for gay men who were unmarried than those who were married, which the study sort of suggests that maybe that is because unmarried gay men might be more likely to be visibly gay because they're trying to show that they're gay to other potential gay men.
Yeah.
Whereas, sorry, Corey, you have an opinion on that.
That's not how gay men attract each other. This was written by a straight person. That's not how gay men.
Okay, well, this is a study.
I must appear more like a fairy in order to attract a mate. That's gay men know who's gay. That's
okay. Well, I don't know. This is not my opinion. Okay, I don't. Yeah. Anyway, well,
no.
Okay. Actively debunked there that claim by Corey.
It's when like very obviously a researcher makes has a hypothesis and it's like, yes, this thing that you don't know, that you don't understand.
Do you don't think
you become more straight when you're married because you don't need to show anyone you're gay.
It's not
roll right back into the closet.
It's just you might become less like visibly trying to sort of signal that you're gay. Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. This is not my claim.
No, I'm not. I'm this is not you. This is that there's research. Whoever made this claim might just be.
One other thing I found really interesting about this study was that it said that both gay men and lesbians have higher levels of education on average. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard that gay men do better in school.
Really?
Than straight men. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but then even then, if they adjusted for this, there was still a gap between lesbians and straight women, even if they adjusted for the fact that that lesbians might, on average, be more educated, and as Corey said, might have done better in school. Lesbians may have more work experience, apparently, and they also, as Corey said, according to the study, may have a greater work effort. One suggestion is that this might come down to a sort of almost like a reverse patriarchal expectation, or like a lack of a patriarchal expectation. The suggestion was, quote, lesbians expecting their own earnings not to be balanced out by a higher earnings from a male partner might work more on average or work in more intensive jobs and might invest more in their human capital, which is like kind of the economic speak for like knowledge, experience, that sort of thing. It's like capital in you as a human. So that was interesting.
Gay people are better, is what you're saying. Gay people are just better than other people.
Well,
yeah, that makes sense.
Again, these are all the words of this study. Do not attribute any of this stuff to me. Even the nice stuff, don't attribute it to me. However, I did say earlier on that there was some stuff about like, well, some lesbian families do have children, but in those situations, the partners are more likely to still be working than in heterosexual couples. In straight couples, women tend to take on more of the childcare and the housework. Still, whereas same-sex couples may have a more equal distribution of work. This means that the average earnings will be skewed towards lesbians and men, right? Because Corey is looking.
Yeah, I just realized, like, if you've got two lesbians raising a family, right?
Yeah.
One of them is going to be like, let's say they do the traditional thing. One of them's going to be working, one of them isn't. Therefore, lesbians will just be pulled up. Like you know what I mean? That the average of that household is going to be higher. It's going to be the same as the average of any other household, but because they're both lesbians, you know what I mean? It's counting towards the lesbians. Does that make sense?
It's counting towards the fact that yes, sort of. Yes, it's a little bit of a funny one.
Okay, so put it this way: in that, if you had a man and a woman in a relationship, right? Yeah. The woman's staying home looking after the kid, and the man is out earning money. Yeah. The woman's low income counts towards, all of women that aren't lesbians. And the man's counts towards men's. Yeah. But with a lesbian couple, both of them count towards lesbians. So effectively, instead of having like one really low who's a woman and one really high who's a man, you have an average, which is
exactly. And it's skewed. It almost takes some data out of the data set by attributing on average higher household income to the male in a straight relationship, because the lesbian women are being compared against straight women. We're not comparing lesbian households against heterosexual households, which almost would be a more interesting study, because if you had one man in a heterosexual relationship earning 60 grand and the woman earning like nothing, or like 10 grand or 20 grand, versus two lesbian women earning 35 grand, that would be the same amount of money. But when you averaged it against the lesbian women, averaged against the straight woman who's not working at all, that skews the earnings towards lesbian women.
Yeah, I feel like this must be the first thing that someone thought of, right? They must have like accounted for this. The fact that like if you're a lesbian, one of you is going to be like, at least one of you is going to be working. Right. And there's no matter which one of you it is, it's still going to count towards lesbians earning money. Whereas it's a 50-50 if you're a man and a woman, right?
Well, but that will be offset by the fact that if you're in a lesbian relationship and one of you is the one earning money in that traditional, like one breadwinner way, then the other person who is also a lesbian who's not working brings that average down.
But it's not offset. Because it would be offset if men and so in a straight relationship, right? Here's what I'm saying, right? In a straight relationship, if the woman earns nothing and the man earns like say 60K, right?
Yeah.
That means that if we're counting all straight women, then we have one woman who earns nothing. That's her income, zero.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if we take the same payment structure and apply it to lesbians, right? We've got one lesbian that's earning 60K and the other one that's earning zero.
Yeah.
Right?
The average is 30K. Yeah.
The average is 30K.
Right.
So where the average of adding in the average of the woman in the straight relationship is zero, the average of the lesbians is 30K. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Which would just pull the lesbian average up, which did they mention that in the study?
Honestly, it was about 35 pages long. I didn't read every single page.
I feel like that can't be the reason. Otherwise, it'd be the first thing that someone would have looked into.
Well,
right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, to be fair, I think that is sort of to a certain extent accounted for. Like the representation in the workplace across men and women is approaching 50-50 now. And so it's just that like women are more likely to have part-time work, for example. It genuinely might actually not be accounted for. It's just that across so many people, that results in an average pay gap of 9%, or it contributes towards that 9% because women who actually don't work at all are relatively rare now. Yeah,
it's interesting. Move on. Let's go on.
Yeah.
My pondering and conjecture is not going to be interesting content for much longer.
Okay. Well, anyway, yes. So, just a couple more things about how this might be caused. So, there was an argument that maybe lesbian women are more competitive in the workplace than straight women. However, some research into this found no difference in competitiveness. So, scratch that out. Abby, the original poster from the TikTok that I was talking about, like she sort of suggested that the possibility of like lesbians having more, like Corey said, like, oh wait, did you say this? I don't know. Like lesbians having more sort of masculine traits, making them seem more capable in a sort of patriarchal view of the world, and therefore might be promoted more, might be retained better, that sort of thing. It should also be noted that despite the lesbian premium, as this was called, gay women still experience discrimination due to their sexuality and due to the fact that they are women.
Wow.
No way.
Yes.
Shock.
I just wanted to note that. Interestingly, in France and Sweden, according to the study, there was no pay difference between women of different sexualities. But in areas where there is this type of wage discrimination against people because of their sexuality, there actually have been attempts to measure the like real world impact of that. Because obviously you can have sort of a nice, as we would be, I think, sort of nice, like, oh, we shouldn't do this because it's just the wrong thing to do. But then there are people who, you know, they want like an economic argument, or they want like a rational argument, you know, like when you have to pitch why you should be inclusive to like a multinational corporation that only cares about its bottom line. It's like, well, because inclusivity's in now, so you'll earn lots of money, and that's not the reason to do it, but sometimes you have to do things like that.
Guillotine if you don't.
Oh my God. A call to revolution within the first 20 minutes of the podcast.
Wow, that's a record.
So, what? One report estimates that LGBT plus discrimination costs, for example, the Hungarian economy between 0.1 and 0.2% of their GDP each year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but actually, because LGBT people are a relatively small portion of the population, that actually is quite significant, right? And at the high end, the estimated cost to the Romanian economy is between 0.6 and 1.7% of GDP, or up to £3 billion. And that's because of sort of lost sort of motivation, like not feeling valued in the workplace, that sort of thing. And possibly the strangest finding of this entire thing was, I'll give you this quote, lesbian women who had previously lived with male partners made 9.5% less than those who'd never lived with a male partner. So
that absolutely goes. Yeah, okay, I'm right then.
Okay, go on. Expand.
Well, I'm right. Okay, right. If you've lived with a male partner and on average you earn 9%, then it's all about like it's literally just the fact that if you have a male in the household, that is if he's earning more, he's not counting towards the average for either lesbians or straight women. Right?
No, sorry, you've misunderstood. If you do the measurements now...
Yeah. But right. But this is where I'm going. Right.
Okay.
So there's that. So like if you were the person in a relationship who earned like less because you're living with a male partner, and it's expected that the male partner earns more, has the job, you do whatever, right? Then you are more likely to, one would assume, in future relationships, be the person that earns less because you don't have that sort of career built up and all of that shit, right?
Yes.
So it would make sense.
Or you've become accustomed to being the person that earns less. Yeah.
Exactly. You're like the homemaker or whatever. So if you're in another relationship, you're probably more likely to be the homemaker again. Therefore, you're going to earn less. I feel like this lesbian wage premium is literally just it's just based on the fact that like one person needs to be earning a decent amount of money to cover both people. Yeah. At the very least.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the explanation. Well, right?
We'll contact the author and say we've cracked it. We've done it. You don't need your 35-page study anymore. We can write it in 1.5 lines.
Also, you're saying that these countries are spending a couple percent of their GDP on discrimination, on
You're not spending a couple of percentage of that.
I'm
not allowing you to make that the point.
No. I love the concept. Of a politician who's in their manifesto is, I pledge to increase spending on increase LGBTQ discrimination spending. Let's make it worse for them. Let's make it harder.
I feel like I've really poorly explained that statistic.
No, you've not. I understand.
But does everybody else understand?
Not anymore.
No. Peddled some fake news. Oh, God. Okay, so the question is, how accurate is this, right? So there was a meta-analysis in 2014. This was a meta-analysis in 2014. An economist called Nick Drakis reviewed 24 studies in 2021. Now, admittedly, I found this published in the Daily Mail, but it is cited. And it found that lesbians at that point were paid 7.1% more than straight women. Gay men were paid almost 11% less than straight men. And this was in the US. The UK gap was about 4.7%. He claimed the wage gap was because of a perception of masculinity and a career focus with, love this quote, lesbians having a, quote, higher dedication to the labour market. What's your dedication to the labour market, Jamp?
Well, not as much as the lesbians, clearly.
Clearly.
All lesbians are above me.
We're just so undedicated to the labour market.
LLC stands for Lesbians Love Capitalism. That's what it is.
Well, to be fair, we're working on a Sunday, so we have quite a good dedication to the labour market. Damn you, Labour! It's actually an interesting one because, unless you have a sort of zero-sum game view of the economy, it's clear that there is growth. Like, if we're looking as a country to grow, one of the best things we could do is stop discriminating against gay men, because they probably they would grow the economy, and it needs to grow by a few percent every year to be in growth. And we're currently about to go into a recession. So I say let's get all the lesbians motivated and all the gays motivated.
Well, the lesbians seem to be motivated by themselves.
My mistake. Yes, they have high dedication to the labour market.
Fine.
It's the gay men we need
to get on.
Come on.
If you enjoyed that clip, head over to patreon.com/SCI GUYS where you can find the full show. Or you can stay here and catch up on old SCI GUYS episodes. Or you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at SCI GUYS Pod to find out when we're doing more live shows.